All right, hello. How's everyone going tonight? Um, we have got in our beautiful company tonight some people that represent some amazing websites around the country that bring a lot of data and visuals and just help to a lot of people around Australia. And I'm going to welcome back again. We've got where are we? Down in the bottom, we've got Anthony McCarley. Give us a wave. He's from covidlive.com.au. We've also got Darcy. He's from one of the lads from Covidbase, which you would have seen in the news recently. And we've also got his mate Jack. Which one's Jack? Give us a wave.
Yeah.
Down the bottom. And we've got someone I've been trying to get in contact. He's a hard man to reach. All the way from Sydney tonight, we've got Ken. I'm not even going to bother to try and say your last name. I think it's Sang. Sang. So welcome. We've got a lot of people already tuned in. We've got nearly 400 people. So,
Jeez.
Chris Wilson. We'll start off. Anyone that wants a question answered, or we'll try and get to them all tonight. If you want to just throw out, and we'll do a bit of a Q&A between everyone. First one tonight is Chris Wilson. He says hello from prison, Victoria. So there you go. What we might do is we might start off with the boys first because they've been in the media a bit lately, and maybe a lot of people want to know what they're about and how they get their info. So we'll start off with Darcy. So do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown about why you started your page, Darcy? And Jack, you can both butt in and talk over each other if you want to.
Okay.
So we started Covidbase AU. Well, yeah, it originated last year when Jack was tracking data for himself, basically.
Yep.
And then early this year, we decided to, I'd been thinking of, how can I display this data in a easily accessible and easy to view way. So I thought about making a website, and yeah, that's what we did.
Yep. Oh, very good. And when do you reckon you started doing all this sort of website and started gaining traction and getting a name for yourselves?
So we probably started gaining traction maybe, it's hard to say, maybe May or so.
Yep. Very good. And also, we've got a couple of questions here. Can you see the questions, guys, on your screens come up? You should be able to see them on the side.
Yeah.
They will be coming through quite quick, and you'll probably miss them straight away. So, and I know last time we did a conversation with Anthony, he's froze. So just be careful. Let me know if that happens. All right. So, Ken, up the top.
Hello.
He's been someone I've been wanting to rack his brain for ages. So and I'm pretty sure Anthony does too. But Ken, how are you, mate? And firstly, thank you for giving us your time. I know you're a busy man. You're probably tracking data and doing stuff to your website as we're talking to you tonight. So.
No, it's on a break at the moment.
So just it's same thing with you. Like, when did you sort of start?
It's sort of like in terms of Covid19nearme, it sort of started when the Northern Beaches outbreak happened in Sydney. So that was like end of last year, December 2020.
Yeah.
Sort of the crux of it was basically, there were these massive exposure site lists that were published by New South Wales government. They were getting quite long. So there wasn't really a good way for me to go, have I been to this location? You have to go top down, check the list every time. So the idea there was, what if you could build an app where it's sort of like, checklist app, check them off one by one. If you haven't been to them, you've discarded them, and only the new ones come up from there on in. So that was the crux of sort of the exposure side of things.
Yep.
Then, slowly and surely move into other parts of the COVID sphere of data, whether it's vaccine data, vaccine availability. When people suggest things, you go, that's a pretty good idea. I might do that as well. So yeah, that's sort of how it all ends up.
And how much time would you spend on devoting yourself onto your site? Like, well,
Really depends. So like, yeah, when there's the most of my time is spent on the exposure sites. So the data that comes through from New South Wales or Victoria, they give you the lists as as a list as a spreadsheet effectively. But every now and then they'll make changes to a location. So
yeah,
they might fix a typo, they might tweak the way a particular location is formatted. So a lot of it's like linking up an existing location with a new location, making sure the map pin, because Covid19nearme is not just like a list, it has a map component to it, and not all states provide location information. So it's making sure the automatic geocoding is actually accurate,
yeah.
updating that. So maybe like a good 3-4 hours a day, just dealing with the exposure sites. A bit more now because there's a lot more states involved. Unfortunately,
Feel free to jump in, Anthony, if you've got a question, mate.
Yeah, how automated is it now, Ken? What's doing the geocoding stuff? Is that
I mean, we send it through to. It depends. So at the moment, I'm sending it to Esri.
okay?
But what I actually end up doing is when I go through each, so everything gets loaded automatically
Okay.
into the database, but I don't publish it until I review everything.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Is that the same with the vaccine data now? I've noticed you're waiting for it.
Yeah, the
You're
vaccine
giving it
data.
the all clear.
Yeah, and also because we get it separately through email as well. So
So
if it comes through
okay.
through email first, I'll publish the email version first. If it comes through the website first, then the website.
So you're manually pushing it now. You've
Yeah.
started growing.
Because it's had some issues of late. I think that's the.
I know Casey's using it. I'm using it. Who else is using the file? Do you know?
In terms of publicly known, there's a few SBS uses it.
Okay.
In terms of like the publicly known ones,
Yeah.
it'd be U3. I mean, Julian
Okay.
probably uses it. I haven't really checked, but
I've seen a few dashboards where people have been using it as well. And they've been
yeah,
referencing
the geo data as well. So the SA4, LGA, and SA3 data. Yeah.
And you're a bit of a programming whiz before this, weren't you, Ken? You've done other apps for Sydney traffic and stuff like that, haven't you?
Yeah. So I guess my specialty is like map-based applications. So that's probably what I spend most of my time developing, whether it's for my own interest or for third parties. Yeah.
I've got a question here. Feel free if anyone wants to jump in. Is there any way do we get a percentage of data on unvaccinated but eligible residents by state to see how that number is trending downwards? Perhaps by the age range to see which group is trending downwards faster or slower. Does that make much sense to you guys? I think.
Yeah, I've seen some people have been doing charts on Twitter with that actually. It's definitely possible. I mean, you just do it based on the age groups if we want to say this is what the remainder is. So yeah, we can look at that.
So you could say like, maybe 20 to 24-year-olds pick your game up sort of thing, or is that what I think that's what that question's about?
Yeah. So it's just like in addition to the age group data that we have now, right? It'll be just like it'll just be clearly like, hey, there's 2 million people over 60 that still haven't got it or something like
that. Laura Coomber, I hope that's right. I might ask one of the guys from Covidbase. Do we know an expected time frame that Victoria will peak? That's a bit of a hard one.
No, I don't think we got the epidemiologists in on this call.
Yeah.
Even they have a hard time guessing. Who knows? Really, who knows?
And it's funny. Go on.
I was going to say that everyone keeps quoting the New South Wales number where they hit 50% double dose and it started to change, and we only just hit that today. So hopefully we see something turn around, but yeah, I wouldn't want to put any predictions or anything on it. No chance.
We've got Heather Smith saying you guys all do an amazing job, and she thanks a lot of you. So that's from Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Here we go. Why do you think the state government can't do this stuff enough, even though they probably have the people with all the skills? This is from Elizabeth Roberts. Feel free to jump in, anybody.
They probably could do it. It's just really slow. And there's probably a lot of internal red tape for getting things. So we know COVID moves really quickly, and the data sets people are interested in are quite quick.
Yeah.
For example, the second dose data for vaccines took 4 months. The LGA data took 6 months.
And Queensland only started publishing case data as a CSV file yesterday. Was it?
Yeah.
I saw Juliet's Twitter post, and she was over the moon.
Yeah.
So they probably could do it all, but I think I've made this point before. If all the volunteers are doing such a great job, why would they need to be honest? And I think it's just too slow. It's just too slow.
All right, so we've got another question which gets asked a bit. Why are the different calculations on dates between on Covidbase and Covidlive with the projection of?
You want to answer that one, Jack?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. So, well,
I can see Ken go.
With second doses, there's no real clear way to sort of calculate it because you have to base it on first doses, which is it makes it a bit tricky. But with Covidlive and Anthony, their projections sort of just taking what the current second dose rate is and then projecting that onwards. But say if a state's doing much less second doses, then that won't be that'll make the date sort of pushed out a lot longer. And essentially, just what we're doing is taking when we'll get to the second dose date and then adding on the gap between first and second doses, and sort of I do put a bit of an acceleration on that gap in some instances, making sure that it doesn't. I can't really say because the gap will change, so I try and take that into account, but I can't really say that it will keep changing forever as well.
I know Casey Briggs does a similar one where he goes, when was the last time? So today we say we did 20,000 second doses. Go back into the history and say, when was the last time we did 20,000 first doses? And that's usually 30, 40 days, depending on the state. And then you just add that to the first dose date. So that's the best estimate we can do to try and get a dosing interval. But we know it's so complicated because you got AstraZeneca that's supposed to be 12 weeks. You got Pfizer that's changing 3 to 6 weeks. You got Moderna that's 4 weeks. And we're not getting this data by split. I think we've only had two or three dumps of it or something like that.
That was your Australian dashboard just coming through.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Doing the predictions, and I've been asked about it all week. What are we going to do? There's no real accurate way to do it. And I think even the governments are struggling to do it because they have exposure of what the states are doing, but they don't have the exposure of what the GPs and pharmacies are doing. Yeah. I saw someone ask, will we hit the November 5 date in Victoria? I think we will, because you can already tell they're throwing everything they can at it. They changed the Pfizer interval yesterday.
To 3 weeks.
And they've made all these workforce mandatory today. So, I think they're pushing hard for Melbourne Cup. Definitely Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, I think with the projections, it will be probably good if they had, I'm not sure how much data they have on it, but obviously we probably have to come from the federal government, but bookings, if they could provide data on bookings, that could make things a lot clearer, I suppose.
Yeah, true. It's just another database they'd have to set up, or they'd have all that information. They'd know it all.
Yeah,
bookings.
You had to have booking. If you knew when every person, what date and what vaccine type they had, you could do a really accurate prediction.
Yeah.
You could say if it was a GP and there was a Pfizer last week, they're going to get their next one within 3 weeks.
Here's a question I wanted to ask Ken, but someone already has asked it. Because I'm interested to know what kind of traffic you get on your page, Ken. So, Elizabeth goes, what sort of hits does Ken get just for his vaccine Find Me map?
Good question. Let me...
He's looking it up right now.
Yeah, let me pull it up because I don't know this stuff off the top of my head. Happy to come back to that one, actually.
All right. We're also live on Twitter and we're also live on YouTube. I think there's about 50 people watching us on Twitter. I'm not really much of a Twitter. I just comment on it. I don't use it as much as Facebook and all that sort of
Very
stuff.
late to Twitter, you were, Pete. Very
I
late.
am, but I've been constantly building my Facebook more than Twitter. I still don't understand Twitter, to be honest. So
I think I'm very much the reverse. I don't understand.
you don't understand Facebook.
Same here.
Or put it this way, I probably spend I don't know, close to $800 a month just in social media software. So just to keep on top of it, and messages and inboxes, and then we also have many chats set up as well, so people can come in and they talk, and then it's automated, and then it goes to a different, you know what I mean? So I can send people off to it, so I don't have to answer every single question. And then I can forward people to your site, Ken or Covidbase or whatever. People ask for vaccination data, I can send them wherever I want, and I don't even have to be on the end of it. The software does it. So.
I've got the numbers up. So in terms of the last 2 months, so I started this sort of early August in terms of the vaccine finding part of the site. In terms of page views, we have over 2.5 million. And in terms of users, these are unique users, almost 600,000. So it's pretty good uptake. And I think I post this sort of somewhat regularly when I remember. The majority of the traffic comes from Victoria, which is quite interesting. So I think I started at sort of the end of or maybe right at the start of the end of the peak for New South Wales vaccine uptake. So a lot of the demand at the moment is coming through from Victoria. More than half of it comes from Victoria.
Someone has written a joke here. It says, Ken, do your teachers hate you, or do they simply take credit for your achievements and tell everyone that Covidbase AU is by osmosis their work? I'm not quite sure
what
he
does that mean.
I think he means...
I think that's for Jack and Darcy, right? Who were talking about Covidbase.
Yeah, I think they're giving you the credit, boys. Not 100% sure what he means by that.
How are you managing it through school, actually, guys? Do you have to duck out of class secretly while the press conference is on?
We don't get to watch the press conferences at school.
You're not missing much.
If you're going to get in trouble, you don't have to answer. We can just say, it's all automated. The bots are doing all the work.
Yeah, it is automated for the most part, which is helpful. And, lockdown sort of given us a lot more freedom.
I think your school would be pretty proud of you.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they would be proud of you guys, even if you had to nick off at 11 o'clock just to listen to, well, not Gladys anymore, but whenever. I don't know. Who's going to be next, Ken? You might have more of an insight. You're a Sydney local man.
It'll be a guy, unfortunately. But
it's crazy.
Let's see how it pans out.
Absolutely crazy. So do your teachers and what are your schoolmates all think, seen you in the newspapers, kids, and message you and say, "Hey, I've seen you on the ABC, I've seen you on The Age," and have you done any like TV stuff as well?
Yeah, we have had like a number of teachers reach, all been pretty positive, and it's been quite overwhelming, the response that we've got since we sort of revealed who just been anonymous the whole time. And our friends have all thought that's pretty cool. Like we have had so many media requests that we've just had to like decline or say, because it's just so much. So
Are you going to do the same thing with your big reveal, Pete? Maybe the media will be all after you when you post the photo up.
I think when we know that when all the borders open up and I can just sort of relax, and when the press conferences sort of go by the wayside, I will. One day I will. Right at the end. It'll be like the big reveal, and then 2 years later, and then I delete the page and turn it into a buy, swap, and sell. So, but like I said, I started the page off, Ken, as a joke, and it was just like just some stats of just basic stats. It wasn't like what you guys are doing now. And then it turned into this huge thing, and it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So, All right, let's go through a few of these. I saw someone before saying I'd be happy to have you kids as my grandsons. So there you go. You got a few followers from the older generation. Where are we here? What countries have... here we go. Elizabeth, again, what countries have requested interviews with Covidbase in the last week?
Oh,
Have you had anyone from overseas?
We have. I mean, there's just been so many. It's sort of hard to keep up with. I think we've had a few different people from the BBC contact us. We've had a few European news outlets. We had some person in Canada asking for a radio interview. So it's been pretty crazy. how many people have sort of reached out.
And what about your parents? Like, obviously, they knew you were doing some stats, and you're in your bedroom and you're doing all these charts. Did they actually have an idea of what you were doing and how big it was getting? Did they actually have an idea of what kind of influence you guys were doing?
Yeah, I think. Well, they've sort of been keeping track, I suppose. I think now that things have sort of blown up, they're sort of in shock, just like us, just how much things have sort of blown up in the past week. But they've been really supportive of everything we've been doing, and yeah, it's pretty positive.
Yeah, we are getting a few comments in this section, guys. I think we've been getting a bit of anti-vax movement happening, so we're just going to skip over them. Laura says, wow, that's awesome, Ken. Great work. So that's probably going back for a few minutes ago, Ken. Loretta Carr says, I follow this guy. He is good. I don't know which guy it is. There's 5 of us on the screen. Here we go. Jack Rue. This is not a question for Ken because he doesn't do the ref. How is the ref... You might know it, though. How is the ref calculated? Why is this not published or referred to more regularly? You might as well do this one. Whoever.
Okay.
Someone jump in.
I can.
Yeah.
The ref is sort of, if people don't know, it's like the reproduction rate or how many people one person infects. And I mean, you can't get an exact number unless you know a sort of index of absolutely every case. So it's sort of, the ref could be another way of sort of saying the growth rate. So sort of how many cases this week and how many cases last week, and sort of how much they're growing. So you can take a sort of quite simplistic approach of sort of just taking the average number of cases over the past week or 5 days, and then dividing that by the number of cases in the previous week to sort of just find a growth rate, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah. Very good. Got a question. Ken, you might be able to answer this, or Anthony. I'm reading it at the same time. Sorry, Ant. What percentage of disabled people have been vaccinated in Australia-wide, please? Do they bring that out on that 2-week chart that they do? I'm not too sure. Do they, Ant?
I just checked that. I only see the total number. I don't know what the percentage is. So I think it's at about 990 when I just checked. But from the reports that I was seeing, a couple of weeks back, I think the Guardian have been really good at going in, deep diving in the data. I think it was like 40-50% or something ridiculously low. So let me follow up with that, because I think it would be good to know what that population or eligible population is, considering that was supposed to be a priority group, finished in March, April.
I had that question sent to me a lot, and I'm like,
okay,
I'm pretty and so yeah, that might be good.
I'll take that as an action item. Leave that with me, because I think that's good to look at that.
Another one for the boys. I shouldn't call you kids. What do the younger guys, CP and Anthony and Ken up the top and Das, what do they want to do when you leave school, boys? Like, I assume you want to get into this sort of field. I'll start with you, Das. Is it Darcy?
Yeah. I'm not really sure, but some kind of software development kind of thing.
Oh, very good. And what about you, Jack?
I'm not 100% sure or set. I think
Yeah.
I've sort of thought about traveling, and I've sort of have two interests that the things that sort of interest me. One is like all this data stuff, which is obviously really cool, and I love to, keep on growing with this stuff. And then another interest that I really have, which I do keep completely away from all the work we do with Covidbase, is I am quite interested in just politics. Like, I will, as much as I might not agree with them, I will watch, say, Sky News After Dark, just because I find it interesting.
Yeah.
Just because I find it interesting, sort of their opinions, and I do have probably a fair big interested in politics as well.
So you think you might get into that sort of game later on, you reckon?
Maybe. I'm still not 100% sure.
Very good. We must also state that there actually is three people part of Covidbase. Wesley is the third member. He's not here tonight. He's probably having a break, is he?
He couldn't make it tonight sorry.
You're all right. Can you read that question on the screen there, Anthony?
Yes, the projection. So I was just looking that up actually. There's a really good guy who's looking at this, Mike Honey on Twitter, and you know him, Pete. He does a lot of dashboard stuff. So he does projections with the hospital ICU data. So he reckons on about a 5-day lag, there's a 5-day delay lag, and it's 5.5% of the active cases.
Yeah.
That's based on his analysis. So what do we got now? What's our active cases now in Victoria? We're at 10,000, almost 11,000. So what's that? 550 in 5 days. Our hospitalizations now are at about 395. So yeah, it's going to keep increasing based on the cases in the last week.
Yeah. Karen Weatherall, that'll teach you CPR. I don't know what she means by that. Bonnie says, thank you for all you do, guys. I depend on your daily stats. So that's from Bonnie. Sally Gearing says the same thing. Thanks for what you do, guys. Who is responsible for Covidlive? Anthony down the bottom is responsible for Covidlive. That's from Emilio Bernardo. Julie Goodard says, you're all amazing. Thank you for all your support over the time. So the majority of calculations are based on the ABS population. Anthony?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Beautiful. I feel like I'm doing a quiz show here. These kids are great. Next stop linked data they are. That's from Candace. Where are we? Jeez, I've got a heap of questions here. Someone just wrote, I've just spent the last 12 months learning how to spell I can't even say it now.
You can't even say it, Pete, let alone spell it.
Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Berejiklian,
that's it. I know how to. When I first started doing charts and updates, I used to copy and paste her name. And same with Palaszczuk, it's a hard one as well. Damn me, looking at the screen, I feel very old. From Mark. All right, here's a good one. So I was having this conversation earlier tonight with a friend, actually. How long will LGA lockdowns will continue?
No idea.
Ken, what are your thoughts, Ken? Because you're in a state where, they're sort of coming a bit out of it. They're doing localised LGAs, and they're talking about reducing quarantine to 7 days and all that sort of stuff. And
yeah, I mean, I feel like that for the New South Wales roadmap, that's pretty well sort of laid out. Because once we reach 70%, I think the intention is for the majority, unless there's very significant increases in cases in localized areas, it's going to be somewhat open within Greater Sydney, and then 80% it's going to be open travel even in regional areas. I mean, within Greater Sydney, most of the rules are localized now, so you can see a lot of the the localized lockdowns actually happening, it's sort of LGA lockdowns happening in regional New South Wales, right? So they'd lock down a particular LGA in regional New South Wales if there's a few cases and if there's local transmission. So, I mean, in the New South Wales context, I mean, I'm guessing by 80% that's not going to be as big of a issue anymore. And I don't know if I can speak too much about any other states. I haven't really been following that closely.
No, that's all right. Anthony, just might as well let people know what you've just put into that chat.
Yeah, someone was asking about a graphical representation of vax data by LGA and postcode, and this is a really good one that Stella's done using probably the data that Ken's produced. Yes, it is. So if you want to see a sort of bit of a map of the vax data of all the different location data, it's a really, really nice dashboard.
Yeah. I've got some questions here that I want to ask the boys, if you don't mind. So, how much? Obviously, you've got a website, but you do a lot of your stuff is mainly Twitter feed based. But after you obviously you revealed yourself in the last few weeks, what sort of traffic now are you sort of finding on your website? Has that blown up, and you're getting it? Like I saw that I remember when I first added you on Twitter, you had like 4,000 or 5,000, and I think I checked earlier today, you've got just shy of 50,000 people now on Twitter. So it looks like it must have grown like 40,000 in a week or 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Before we did our reveal, we were at, I think, about 15,000 Twitter followers.
Yep.
And yeah, now we're at, last I checked was about 43,000. And our website, hang on, I can get you the numbers. I think when it peaked at about, so the day after we revealed ourselves, it peaked at, yeah, hang on.
I reckon Anthony's probably wish he had stayed anonymous and revealed himself.
Yeah, so
had a big
Too old,
reveal.
Pete.
So it peaked, yeah, the day after the reveal at 58,000 unique users on that day, and now has sort of flattened out at around 15 to 20,000 again.
Crazy. We were talking before we came on here tonight about the kind of coding. So Darcy, who we're talking to right now in the top corner, he does all the coding side. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you must do all the other stuff. But Jack does all the. You would notice for those who are on Twitter right now, like when the Victorian government share a dashboard or Queensland government share theirs, you'll see within 15 seconds. I run TweetDeck. Do you guys run TweetDeck?
Not really.
Ken, do you run TweetDeck at all?
Use a bit of both. TweetDeck, yeah.
I love TweetDeck, and I've got actually Ken's COVID one set up in one, and all you guys. And as soon as like the dashboard comes out, literally bombarded with Covidbase just flying off, and I find it amazing how you've actually managed to do it. I'm blown away by it, and I keep asking Anthony, how the hell do they do it?
It's very good. Darcy's very good technically. He's learned a lot.
So when you post these charts, are they updated on the spot and then posted in your tweet, or are they figures from the day before or something? How does it work?
It sort of depends which data it is. So there'll be, say you have like positive test rate or whatever. Say that sort of stuff. That'll like Darcy's bots will do the OCR, and then that pastes pretty much just into a Google sheet that I have, and then we have like CSVs which we can download and then repost back out. But some of the stuff, like we try, I think an approach that we've sort of taken, not sure if we'll continue, but say like when the Victorian like dashboard sort of posts out, like that's probably the time when the most people are sort of interested in the data. So some of the data's like, say with the LGA data, is sort of accurate. It doesn't include like the cases just announced, but we'll try to put a note like on tweet if that's the case.
Yeah. And we'll go back to Ken. Where obviously it feels like, even in my perspective, like things are starting to wind down a little bit in the country for COVID-19. Not so much, but it feels like we're coming out of it slowly. Where do you see your website and your vision of what's going to happen next, like for your website?
I think definitely, the vaccine finder component hopefully will just go away as soon as we reach. I'm aiming for maybe 90%, right? If once we reach 90%, fingers crossed we do. I don't see there being a massive need for this. We'll see what happens with boosters and whatnot, but for the vaccine component, I think we'll try and slowly sunset it over time, because it does take a bit of time to maintain that as well.
Yeah.
For the case locations, I think it will depend on a state-by-state basis, and we'll see how the contact tracing system ends up being like, post opening up. If it's going to be more of an automated system where they notify you directly, then I see less need in having Covid19nearme provide a separate map of locations. It also, requires the government to provide that information to us, right? So at the moment, in New South Wales, it's a bit of a problem. In Greater Sydney, they don't give you the whole list. They only give you sort of close contact sites.
Yeah.
So, if the government decides to sort of stop publishing that information, providing directly to impacted individuals, then we'll have to sunset it over time. So I think, from my point of view, we'll see what the government does, and I guess I'll have to follow through because we're limited by what data they give us.
Yeah. And do you think that maybe next year, like, it'll probably just, because I assume that we're going to be having boosters, or next year we're going to still be having another booster or a vaccine shot of something or other. Well, Darcy's gone. So your site still might be used for for locations and stuff like that. So it's still got the potential for growth in that area as well.
For vaccine sites, you reckon?
Yeah, just for for clinics and that. Like I go on your site and I am blown away by the amount of data that you have managed to. I don't know how you've done it, but like, and Anthony will agree. Like, you've got your maps up, and you've got. It says that you've got Pfizer coming in 2 days, and you've got these are this is what the brand they're using, and all that sort of stuff. Like, your database must be enormous.
The list is growing over time, as more and more clinics get added.
Yeah.
Look, we'll see what happens with boosters. If there's a need for the availability, the vaccine finder, when boosters come online, then I'll keep it running. But the reason why I built the vaccine finder in the first place was because I found it hard through the official channel. That's the official vaccine finder on Health Direct, the government one. They just didn't provide availability information that was accurate. So you wouldn't be, like, they did give it for some clinics, but sometimes it wasn't accurate, and it doesn't cover a large enough set of clinics. So for example, like most pharmacies at the moment, you can't see the availability information in the official government one, but I've been pulling that information for my one. So if they manage to upgrade their systems to be able to give that information, I think I'd much prefer people to go to the official one than to my one.
Have you had any governments ask you to come and design one for them?
No, not for the vaccine side of things. I think they have their own plan, which is to improve their system, which is great. Like, I'm hoping that they'll do it sooner rather than later. And that will help a lot of other people, because all of the advertising and sort of push they do links them to the official one. There's no need for me to sort of keep mine running. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they pull through with a.
You shouldn't need to, Ken, because it was an issue when the supply was an issue, but we're going to get a point where you can go to any doctor, any pharmacy, whatever, and get any vaccine you want, like that. And that should just be common knowledge. You can just go down the road and find it. So
yeah, no, that's true. And if it's not, if the urgency to get the booster isn't, you must get it this week, it could be, a week and a bit later, then that sort of scouting for the earliest appointment isn't really a requirement anymore. Yeah, that's a good point.
And the boys, you guys were like one of the first to have the Moderna in Victoria, is that right? Like, or the first week of having Moderna?
Yeah,
Yeah. Any side effects? None?
not one for me.
That's perfect. I'm just having a look at this question here. All right, Laura, she goes, what are your opinions on how long COVID will be a problem in the world? This is a hard one. Will it be around forever, or will we just get weaker and eventually disappear? Anth? You're an epidemiologist.
Well, yeah, everyone says it's going to become an endemic, right? I don't think it will ever disappear. And it's still running around a lot of parts of the world that haven't got the vaccination rates that we're lucky to have. And a lot of the rich countries, that we should say, that have. So, yeah, it's going to keep going for a really long time.
Yeah.
Will it have the impact like it has in the last 2 years? Absolutely not. We need to move out of this lockdown phase and sort of get back to a bit of normal, and that's what the vaccines were designed to do. So yeah, I guess we talked about it just before. The boosters will be an interesting one, how that plays out. If the whole population has to get it, only maybe just a certain vulnerable part. Will there be new variants come around? Will it just slowly disappear? Yeah, it's definitely going to keep running all of next year, but it definitely won't have the impact that it has in Australia anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning in the shower, of all places where I do my thinking. We're all worried about when Delta hit the shores and all that sort of stuff, and then what's the next one that's going to come, and we're going to be worried about that? Is there going to be one that's stronger than Delta that doesn't protect the vaccines that we have? I don't know. Is it like they say? There's a couple of different South African variants or something or other around the world, and
who knows? I thought this was over after the first wave. I was ready to close the website down.
I remember having this conversation with you. We're like, all right, well, it's time to say goodbye. And I remember that the Twitter guy, What Time's Dan or whatever it is, he said he was packing up the fax machine.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. And even this year, I think after January, Feb, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to start planning out of it now, go back to normal. And look what happened.
Boys, how much time do you spend on? We'll start with Das up the top. How much time would you spend on your site, and Twitter and your site a day?
In total, it sort of depends.
And don't worry, even if your teacher's watching tonight, you can tell them the truth.
Yeah, I mean, during the holidays, the school holidays, probably not as much.
Yeah.
Because having to socialize. But during school time, maybe 6 or so hours, schoolwork, and then that takes some of the time, and then doing this, and then I can do this a bit after school as well for a bit. So
what about you, Anth? How many hours would you put in a day? Yours is
I'd probably 8 to 10 hours a day, and maybe 4 to 6 hours on the weekends. Yeah, it's pretty much a full-time job, absolutely.
And I know the boys have been doing a lot of media lately, but I also noticed you've done a bit of media yourself the other week. Anthony, you got about 1 second on Channel 9.
Yeah, so everyone's, ever since I put those vaccine targets countdown, everyone's been very engaged and interested in that, especially with the roadmap so tied to it. So, yeah, lots of questions about will we hit the dates? Vic messed up the indicative dates twice in the last week. First, they said Sunday we're going to hit the 80%, and then they said Tuesday. It only just hit the numbers yesterday, so they should be using the 7-day rate. I don't know. I'm not sure why they got the first dose rate wrong, but second dose rate, everyone wants to know what's happening, and the announcement with the Pfizer interval changing, and everyone just wants to get out of lockdown, which is understandable. But I still think, Melbourne Cup. It's all about Melbourne Cup. The VRC have already put in a request for 25% crowds, so let that speak for itself, I think.
Yeah. What else I was going to ask you? I've got a few things here that people are sending during the week. Ken, will you be keeping your site active, in maybe 2 or 3 years to come? It'll just be like more of a page where people can look at the historical roots and all that sort of stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep the data there
Yeah.
for historical purposes. I don't plan to remove it.
And what about the boys? You're going to keep your website going even after all this is gone, so people can, people might be studying this at school or doing a project, and they might go, shit, we need to look up the 10th of January stats or whatever, or they can go to either your page or Covidlive or whoever's got a page, or Covid19 data and all these other COVID pages. So will you be keeping the page going as well, or sitting around?
Yeah, we don't really have any plans to sort of stop. I think we'll probably like continue sort of building on our stuff until the end of the year, I think, or until sort of school starts back next year. But I think once we get into next year, I don't think we'll be sort of building or sort of doing anything new. I think we'll sort of just try and keep everything stable and try and get as much stuff as possible automated. But I don't really see COVID leaving us anytime soon. Like, after the second wave last year in Victoria, and once everything calmed down, I don't think that many people expected that, everything would blow up like this, like literally a year later. So, yeah. I think COVID isn't really leaving us anytime soon.
No, it doesn't look like it, does it? But so tonight we're going to have another person. So I know we've got Twitter people watching us right now, but I'm pretty sure he's probably watching the stream. But DB Raven was going to join us tonight, but he's busy tonight with his family, and also Juliet O'Brien, who runs Covid19 data. So, she's been there from the start, so shout out to her and DB Raven. Another person I want to say a shout out to is Chris Billington. He does some really cool charts with the ref numbers. I don't know if you've seen him, Anthony, or Ken, but they look like a nice sort of mosaic sort of picture that he does, and very clever charting however he does it.
Yeah, it's good. They look very nice. But yeah, I've spoken to Chris a few times. He's using my data feed, so all the stuff he's getting straight from the case numbers and stuff like that. But he's been getting a little bit of media too recently, based on those projections.
Even DB got a mention on the same night where you had your 1 or 2 seconds of live footage.
Yeah, there you go.
Ken's having a good laugh. I think he might have seen it too. Did he?
Yeah, that might have been a Melbourne special. Was it? I don't know. It was
it would have
numbers,
been.
right?
Yeah, it would have been Melbourne. Yeah.
Very good. So, what's plans? What have we got here? I'm just reading some other questions. Can you see any of your screen there, guys?
Yeah.
Or is mine frozen up?
I can see the...
here we go. Elizabeth Roberts again. Can you send your data to the National Archives? I believe it can be done.
Yeah. They normally reach out to sites to get them archived. I don't know. Have you got anyone reaching out to you, Anthony? Or
no, I haven't. I didn't even know that was a thing actually. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't not for COVID, but for previous stuff, I've had them reach out. So that might be something to suss out.
I'm just having a look at some other ones we've got here. All right, boys. What's the number? I'll ask Jack in the bottom, and then we'll just go around the table. What's the number one question that you get sent to your email or Twitter inbox every day? That the number one question you get asked.
Oh, there's a few. One thing I think I get asked a fair bit is like,
why doesn't yours line up with Anthony's?
I
get that all the time, but I don't even run those 2 pages.
Yeah, I get questions, a fair few questions about that. I get questions about a fair few questions about like vaccination status of cases, deaths, hospitalizations, ICU, like all that sort of stuff. And I mean, right now, so with that, we have Victoria, which sometimes publishes like a breakdown of hospitalization percentages, which isn't that detailed, but they're just like through the press conferences or media releases.
How was the stuff up the other day where Mark Foley turned around and said 76% were vaccinated, and it
been answering that all day, Pete.
Have you?
A couple of days, yeah. A lot of people asking about that.
I've been getting it too, and I screenshot your thing. And when I actually watched the live press conference, and I wrote, "That's not true," because 2 days prior they said it was like 78% weren't vaccinated, and then it's changed to were vaccinated. It was a complete blunder. You could tell he was a bit on edge when he was reading it out. So, but I've been getting those messages all day long. Can you clarify? People sending me links on Instagram where I think like that other community are, really selling it to their people. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just posted a link in the chat. It was an ABC article that have debunked it. So if anyone comes across it and they're trying to say that the vaccination rates were wrong, send them that article because they got someone from Foley's office to confirm that he misspoke.
Yeah, I actually wish he had have came out the next day and said, "Look, I just want to apologise," and that would have put it to bed.
People still don't want to listen even when they say that. So
exactly,
it doesn't matter too much.
Okay, Darcy. I guess it's the same questions that Jack gets. Yeah, like what's the number one question you get asked?
Yeah, so Jack manages most of the Twitter and all of the.
So he's like your secretary, is he?
Yeah.
You do all the hard like coding and the back end stuff.
He's just the project manager, Pete. That's all it is.
Are you on union rates? What about you, Ken? Like, do you get much inbox, or do you just turn it off and not listen to people?
I get too much. So sorry for anyone who's messaged me and not gotten a response. Yeah, I just don't have the time to reply to everyone. So yeah, it's a wide range of things. Probably less than what you guys get for case stuff, because that's a very everyday thing. But a lot of it's to do with vaccine clinic stuff. I saw this clinic had vaccines. Why isn't it listed? Stuff like that.
Have you had any clinics ask you to remove their?
Yeah, actually a few. So we get a lot of stuff from clinics directly, which I do try and respond to because it does affect them. Like for some reason, some clinics started listing appointments when they didn't even have stock in hand, and they just apparently hundreds of appointments, and had to phone each of them individually. So it does have an impact because they obviously didn't intend to accept bookings, but for some reason the system or they configured it incorrectly or something. So it's easier for me to remove their listing than it is for them to figure out how to fix their problem, and they might need to call someone or something. So that's stuff like that.
That's happens. A lot of work, Ken. Jeez. That's sad that you had to do all that. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't have to do that. But.
No, and a lot of if a clinic asks, I want to be added, and I'm not for some reason they're not in the official list, and I also complied with those sort of requests just to.
Oh, really? We added a few. That's cool.
Yeah. Another one's like all the Victorian walk-ins that are coming up as well. They're not listed officially, but they do share them on Facebook and whatnot.
Should charge an add-in fee there, Ken.
It's keeping me busy.
That's all right. I'm going to post up your guys. I've got them all. I can't find Anthony's PayPal, whatever it is, but I've got the boys' one I'll put up in a second, and yours, Ken, for the coffee, which we all seem to be using. I've had way too many coffees. I've actually had that many coffees bought for me. I've got enough to go for another 2 years. I've actually changed it to buy me a beer instead of coffee. But yeah, so we've got another question here from Lisa Chapman. She's a bit of a regular commenter on ours. She said, "How much stress?" And this might go to Anthony might know.
Did we lose Pete there?
Yeah, we lost Pete.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Do an ad lib.
What was the question? How much stress? All right. How much stress will the new 2021 population test cause? Are you there, Pete? Cause when the ABS update, will you have to rework the numbers? Ken, do you know when the census data or the new ABS data might come in?
It'll come next year, so we won't have the updated population data for some time. We might get an interim one for sort of estimated population
Okay.
from ABS, but they probably are more focused on working on the new census now.
So yeah, there you go. So Lisa, I know. So I'm using all the population numbers. There's a few places you can get the population numbers. You can go straight to the ABS website, or the PDF packs themselves have population numbers, and that's the ones the government are using to track all the official targets. So I've just copied those. I doubt they'll do any updates to that, considering we should hit all those hit all those numbers by the end of the year. So yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be interesting though, because even now I think in the boys, the COVID-based boys have highlighted it. Some of the ACT age groups are over 100%. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah, it was like 102%
Yeah, they are.
today.
I think ACT 70 plus at they're at 105%, just because the total number of first doses are so much a lot larger than the actual population. And I think I remember literally maybe like a month or two ago when they have the data by each for age group on age group and state, like broken down, and they used to have like the percentages, and they all changed to above 95%, which is but I guess if they're using the raw numbers, some of them could be like 110, 115%, because it was like 2 months ago when ACT, I think it was like 70 to 75 or something like that, was like already 100%. So there obviously are some issues.
It's annoying. I know that 95% things would probably mess you up a bit too, Ken. I think you're just storing it as 95 flat, right, in the database when it's got that symbol. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying, but you can understand because you don't want questions when you say, why are we 110%? It just looks a bit funny. So anyway, you back, Pete? Well,
No, my screen went frozen, and I don't know what happened. And normally when I do live, I run a direct line to my router instead of go Wi-Fi. But yeah, too many people, because we're all stuck home in Melbourne. Everyone's on probably Netflix and that all around my neighbourhood. So. I have noticed in the evening, especially in the last 12 months, in the evening, internet speeds have been terrible. I don't know if you boys have found that, but yeah, it's been terrible.
Well, it's not too bad around here.
You're in the thick of it though, aren't you, Anth? You're in the west, aren't you?
Oh yeah, it's like we definitely were. So I'm in Caroline Springs, and we had those big outbreaks when we had the cafe and shopping center. I think that was about almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then it's moved on, and it's slowly, like the Coles was shut for a day or so, and it's everywhere now. Like, very hard to avoid it at the moment. I don't know if you saw, they just made an announcement tonight in Vic where there's so many isolated like shop workers in the supermarkets. They might have special rules for them if they're going forward, probably if they're vaccinated. So I think Ken touched on it before about the exposure sites. The rules are going to change once we have such high population numbers, 80, 90%. The rules are going to, even New South Wales, I think, talked about you won't have to isolate if you're a close contact, or you might only have to do 7 days, things like that. Something.
So as we speak, my parents are currently isolating for 14 days. My dad was at a Coles, and he was only in there for 20 minutes, and then my mum works at the hospital. And so what happened is that now they've both got to isolate because of him. But he and he wears a mask everywhere, as you do, being a worker and all that sort of stuff when you enter their stores. But they've still got to enter 14 days quarantine. And half these stores are running so low on staff that you can't literally put the whole state in isolation. So I think we're literally at the point where in the next week or two that we're going to see some massive changes when it comes to isolation. For Victoria, I can't see it going for much longer. And as we speak tonight, Shepparton's going into lockdown at 11:59 tonight.
Yeah.
So, back in the day, I remember when Queensland used to go into lockdown, or there would be exposure sites pop up just randomly. I'd be tweeting Ken, get that Queensland side up and running, mate.
Get that New Zealand side up.
Yeah,
and
get the
running.
new side. Oh, I used to love it all. But yeah.
Gosh.
What do you reckon, boys? You reckon we're at the peak of where we're about to see some changes with isolation rules?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to. It's probably definitely possible. Like I've been tracking the exposure sites or just the numbers each day, and they peaked at about 1,000, and they've come down to I think something like 650 or something like that. But yeah, like it's obvious that they're sort of only listing it just in the exposure sites, so like crucial ones now, and there's probably is a lot of stress on the system. So yeah, I think it's inevitable that things will change.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, so someone just said, is Shepparton going in again? Yeah, they are. 11:59 tonight. They're going back into lockdown. So the city of Greater Shepparton. It's quite crazy.
I don't know how you're supposed to notify the community, a couple of hours before the lockdown. People aren't on Twitter waiting, am I going to be locked down tonight? Like, how do you send that message out? Or people just wake up in the morning, or there'll be text messages going around.
That's a good one. That's a good one for Ken to answer, because his state does it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think the communication is that great. Yeah, but as you say, maybe you should just send out a text that will capture a large chunk of the population that.
Well, see, Shepparton they said they went going back into lockdown because they had 24 new cases today. So, and Anthony, you would have noticed the postcode data didn't come out till after 6 o'clock tonight.
It was very late. I'm really worried about the data in Victoria at the moment. We had that backlog 3 days ago.
Yep.
That broke the Covidbase bots. That's how bad that tweet was that day. The next couple of days, it's been really late. And then we had the stuff that Dr. Orr said, saying they couldn't put the notifications in the night before. So, yeah, I think we're at a point where we might be actually capturing those little backlogs all going forward. So we might be having cases from 1-2 days ago added to the numbers every day. That's what I'm sneaky suspicion why the numbers have been late lately. So,
are you adding them onto the day, or just? I know you run a net total off to the side.
Yeah. So, if anyone followed it last year, we used to have reclassifications all the time, and back then it was mainly because we just had duplicate data. We were using spreadsheets, and we were double counting cases all the time. So, we'd say, oh yeah, we had 700 in the last 24 hours, but actually we took away 200 because we double counted them from a few days ago. So the net increase would be 500 and the new would be 700. Most people just want to know in the last 24 hours, but if you're tracking it historically, you need to know what the most up-to-date case number was. Eventually I caved in and I'm tracking both now. So I have, if anyone's using the Covidlive site and you go to the state, you will have a new field, and that's representative of the last 24 hours. And then the red with the increase, that's just what's changed. So, for example, today in Victoria, let me check actually. Do we have any reclassifications today? We had 7 reclassifications today in Vic. So I think it was 1130 something, 38. And 7 from previous days were removed. And now they're usually the false positive. We don't have that data duplication issue that we used to.
Ken, do you wish you were tracking numbers, or you're happy just to...
I think both of them have challenges, right? So case locations, they're just an ongoing stream. Like it happens 12 a.m., it happens 6 a.m., whenever the contact tracing team is publishing new locations, you got to be publishing them. It's a completely different problem, right? It's both of them are very challenging to deal with.
So for those that have joined in late, Ken is from Covid19nearme.com.au. The boys are from Covidbase .au. Is it .au your website or what?
Covidbaseau.com and then at Covidbaseau on Twitter.
On Twitter, and we've got Anthony from Covidlive.com.au. But Yeah, like I was just going to say, yeah, someone just wrote Moorabool. Yeah, so Moorabool Shire and Shepparton are both going into lockdown tonight. So that's just to answer your question.
I know that, and just what Ken was saying, I know that stress of any time the numbers can go. At least we've got a bit of a schedule these days, so it's a bit easier with the case numbers, especially with Vic having a press conference around the same time every day between 11 and 12. So, yes, I really sympathize with all the work you're doing and have huge respect with the exposure sites. When you started it was only 1 or 2 states, and now you're doing half the country. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I told Anthony that Ken was coming on tonight, he was like, he wrote. I'm pretty sure he wrote to me, huge.
Yeah, hard person to get hold of.
No, but we've been talking about what you do, and like, you know, a lot of people don't understand what you've done. You've developed scripts and stuff where ex- you're reading the New South Wales exposure website, you're then translating that into your own code, you're then putting it onto your own website automatically, you're then tweeting it to everybody at the same time, and it's all done automatically. Like it's crazy. And then not only that, you're also doing like the scraping of the PDFs for the Australian government documents, and a lot of people are using your. I don't know much about GitHub and all that sort of stuff, but a lot of people download your open source stuff to help. I think. Do you use it, Darcy? Do you use any of Ken's stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, like you're an absolute genius, mate, and you should be. You know, you're like one of these unsung heroes in the background, making it like putting this piece of the puzzle together for all of us sitting at home. And you know, you should be proud of yourself, man. So
Thanks, Pete. But yeah, like I think, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like,
Anthony, not so much. He knows I love him. But
we all love Anthony, right? Yeah, that's it. Like, yeah, it's the. I feel like, you know, the government should probably do better in the whole providing data respect. I'm sure you guys would have discussed this in the past, but you know,
yeah,
there's no point.
It's a federation. Sorry, Ken. Yeah, it's a federation thing, right? No,
Yeah.
Not all of them are going to get together and it's like, hey, let's do one data solution for all of us. The most beautiful CSV, everything maps. Like, that's just not going to happen.
I think that's going to happen when we do the QR. I think we need to have a national QR check-in app, I believe, because when it comes to flying in, say, interstate and stuff like that, you're going to have a lot of issues, I reckon, with, you know, the data being checked off from the other company's side. You know what I mean? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, we need that auto notification thing. But New South Wales has that, right, Ken? We haven't got that. Where if you use the check-in app and you've been exposed, just ping the app. Like,
Yeah, we only got that, I think, yesterday or the day before.
well, there you go. Like,
Canberra is also doing that. So I think we're moving towards that, which is good to see,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
most states will follow through. Yeah, I'm not too worried about having the different apps,
Yeah.
because, you know, I don't know how often people travel interstate, but it's easy enough for me to have 3 apps and check in with the correct app depending on which state I'm in. But yeah,
We've got
it's
a.
at least the same functionality across all the apps, right?
that's it. Yeah.
I only got. I'll tell you a funny story, boys. I was at the cafe up here the other day. I was ordering coffee for my partner and getting a drink for myself. And the guy goes, "Oh, sorry, your card didn't work, mate." And I looked down and I actually had my COVID-19 vaccination passport opened up on the wallet of my iPhone.
Trying to pay with your certificate.
I was trying to pay with my certificate. It's not getting me anywhere. So that doesn't work. April Muller said she's worried about the data too. I think that comes from the Victorian thing that you were talking about.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if it's sometime tomorrow.
I reckon it's going to get higher. I've got a funny feeling. Here we go. I'll put this question up. We've got a few more questions left and then we'll get off. Ken's probably got another 4 hours of programming to do.
Don't we all?
What might also impact percentages of doses? Going over 100% as if you're a Victorian getting vaxxed interstate. It goes against the state numbers you get vaxxed in. I heard Martin Foley mention it in a press conference the other day.
Yeah, so I can answer this one. So I remember this question in the press conference, and there's still this issue where there's 2 sets of vaccination numbers. When you talk about the totals each day and the increase, so Victoria had 94,000. That's vaccinations by location of the provider. But whenever we talk about first and second doses, and that's what all the targets are based on, that's based on residents. So unfortunately, Martin Foley got that one wrong. If your Medicare details are attached to Victoria and you get vaccinated, it will count towards Victoria.
And it also updates when you change your address. So it's not the time you got vaccinated. If you retrospectively update your Medicare address, that number will follow through to your the correct state. And
There you go.
location.
Thanks, Ken.
See, he knows it all.
Could be migrating vaccinations to other states.
Another question also we get asked a lot is the postcode data. And people go, oh, well, this is before we've had this massive sort of numbers pop up in Victoria. Like, people go, oh, look, there's 10 people, there's 4 people who have just tested positive in Berwick overnight. And that doesn't always have to mean that they live in Berwick, doesn't it, Anthony?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain because they could be in hospital, they could be in hospital, but their address is based.
My understanding is it's based on the residents.
Yeah.
But there's always this movement between data where they might not have the correct address right away, or there might be incorrect details.
Yeah.
So once they clarify that, they might be 3 or 4 days later, they'll move it to the correct postcode or LGA. So if you looked at the case numbers, it might look like they've increased by 4 in the day, and people might be a bit worried. But that just might be an artifact that they've just clarified the address details.
Yeah. We've got a person just asking what are the websites. So Ken, up the top of your left of your screen, he runs Covid19nearme.com.au, which I've just pinned on the screen just now. The boys is Covidbase. I don't actually have their website hooked onto it. So what is it again, boys?
It's covidbaseau.com.
And your Twitter account?
And at twitter.com/covidbaseau.
And we've got we've got Anthony's one. I've got that many screens running in. That's a question I'm going to ask you in a second. Or covidlive.com.au for Anthony. No special treatment for his one at the moment. I can't find it on the screen.
That's all right. I might create a page too with everyone's dashboards at some point. I'm being a bit slack with the resources page, but I need to give it a good update. So it'd be a nice splash page of all the various volunteer sites across the country.
And what sort of, are you a PC guy, Ken, or are you just running one? Are you just running a little laptop, or you got multiple screens? What have you got there?
It's a Mac. I don't know. I've got 3 screens, but only 2 of them are running at the moment.
I've got 4 screens and one's blown up.
I'm impartial to operating systems. I'm not like I need to use this particular one. Whichever is running is fine for me.
And what about you, boys? Were you running off a little laptop, or you got what are you running? PC, Mac, or?
Yeah, we both just have Windows laptops. Yeah.
And Anthony, what have you got, mate?
Mac, please. PC all the way. I'm not impartial. PC all the way.
PC all the way.
No,
very good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pin. I'm just going to put your website up, Anthony. And Anthony, do you want to put your PayPal thing in the comments?
Yeah.
Covidlive.com.au. And I'll just pin this up. Where are we? All right. Yeah, so that's Anthony's site. Most of you guys already know it. Another reason I say that is most of the screenshots that get sent to me are either from either 3 of these people on the screen. It's either Covidlive, Ken's site saying there's an exposure near me, what do I do? Or the boys send me a vaccination chart. Well, they don't, but someone sends me a vaccination graph and I go, I've got no idea what they're talking about. And no, I don't, but I send it on to other people. So you got Covidlive, Covidbase boys. Guys, these guys do it on their own back. They don't get paid to do it. And if you want to chuck them a few dollars, they've all got buy me a coffee links or donation links at their pages, and it helps them out. Keeps Ken going into his local supermarket and buying his chicken. I've seen your specials that you keep putting up.
Chocolate mud cakes.
Yes, the mud cake. Can't forget the mud cake.
I love your tweets. They're funny. So, but we might end it there, boys. So thanks for, for giving us your time, Ken. I know I've been trying to track you down for 6 months. I'm still waiting for you to build me my ACT exposure site bot.
We'll get to that one.
We won't need it by the end of it, mate. It doesn't matter. Anthony and Darcy and Jack, thanks for joining in on us tonight, mate, and giving us your time. And keep up the great work. And a lot of people are, I think you guys have got a very, very bright future ahead of you. And
Thanks, Pete.
no, seriously, like you should be proud of yourselves. For something you just sort of started in your bedroom, like all of us. To grow so big. So you should be very proud of yourself, Anthony. You know what I think of your page. It's great. So
yeah, thanks, Pete. And it's so great to see Ken and Darcy and Jack. I mean, you guys, I have so much respect for what you guys have done. I wish you guys were here last year. You guys have come way too late to the scene. You should have been around Wave 2 Victoria. Would have been so helpful. But no, I'm glad you guys are here and doing such a great job. So thanks.
Just a few people are saying, Patrick Thomas, he's a regular on Twitter. He says thank you. Amanda Murray says thank you. Michelle says thank you. Laura Coomber says thank you. Wazza Scott, I know Wazza's pissed at the moment. He was on the Sam and Sam stream before and he was drinking Fireball. So Michelle Kane Gibbons says legends, all you guys. Michael White says thank you. Emilio Bernardo says thanks, guys. Jesse Callaway says thanks, Pete and admin. Thank you. That's all right. Terrific young man. Your family should be very proud of you, boys. So there you go. You should be proud of what you've done. Elizabeth Roberts says, I hope you get to meet each other in person one day. I'd love to be able to meet them all. I think when this is all over, I would love to come meet you all. And I've been saying that to Anthony all along. But he lives in the west and I live in the east.
We'll find a way when we'll find a way. Like 50k extension or something, Pete.
Yeah, we might ask those guys who went to Perth how they did it. So. All right, I'm going to love yous and leave yous. Thanks, guys, and we'll do this again sometime soon in a couple of weeks. We did one 2 weeks ago with Anthony. It was really successful, and I think we've kept the numbers up pretty high through the night. And we're not everyone's cup of tea. I get that, but a lot of people do want to see the faces that do all the data that they look at so much every day. So.
Thanks, Pete. You have to get the others on too when we do it.
Yeah, shout out to DB Raven, legend, bit of an unsung hero. I love his graphs as well. Juliet O'Brien, who shares her data with me all the time. Anthony shares his data too. Chris Billington, the Crab, I can't think of his name. The Crab.
Crab.
Ken knows who I'm talking about.
The Crab.
Love that we're all. Here we go. One last question here. Love that we're all data nerds with multiple screens, and now the cool kids are in town. Anyway, love you and leave you. Good to meet you, Ken. Nice to meet you, Jack and Darce and Anthony. Good to see you again, pal. And we'll do this again soon. And thanks for everything, guys.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Now I've got to learn to shut it off. See you, boys.